everyone, welcome back to Hollywood Interviews. We are here with the legend, James Dumont. Dude, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. You can say legend all the time. I'll say yes. That's like showing up for dinner. It's like, yes.
My thing is, once you've been in over 100 projects, you're a legend.
Yeah, I guess that's the deal. I'm teetering at like 160, 162, somewhere in there. So yeah, like I call myself like the Forrest Gump of actors. I just kind of show up in these various things, just like in Forrest Gump. He's like, yeah, he was here. Well, he was here. Well, I was watching out in Hawaii, and there's James Dumont, and I was in Peru, and there's James Dumont. So yeah, I kind of call myself the that guy, Forrest Gump of actors, kind of thing, you know.
You're literally in everything. It's nuts.
It feels like it, and it doesn't feel like it all at the same time. So there you go.
So let's start off with what brought you into the acting world?
Originally from Chicago. I was born and raised there. And my thing goes back to being like a kid. Like my mom put me in for this contest for the Gerber, baby bottles, where there's like a little sketch of like, so I was like a Gerber baby back in the day. So like it started way early, but I remember I think I'm old as hell. I remember the first season of Sesame Street. And I remember seeing Sesame Street and seeing kids on TV. And I was like, oh man, like mom, like I want to do that. Like, that seems kind of cool. They're like, and there's kids that are on television, like this thing. And I was like, so then it was like, that's kind of where it really kind of got started. And then performed all through like grammar school. There was, places that you could kind of go to do theater in Chicago. Second City was there. So, at a certain point in high school, I did Second City. And then I went to performing arts high school. I went to Whitney Young High School, which is where Michelle Obama was 2 years ahead of me. My friend has this great picture of like him and his junior prom date is like Michelle Obama. And he's got like the crushed, raspberry colored with the cane. And I was like, what the? So like, that like, he's posting that everywhere. And then, cause Michelle is a woman. I know there's some people that are doing some crazy stuff out there, but she is 100% bona fide woman. So the deal is, so I went to performing arts high school, and then I got it. I got into, because I could dance. They asked me to be, I was going to be, my uncle worked for the CTA. So the movie Blues Brothers was shooting, and he was headed with the blues. Yeah, there it is. And so I was one of the kids that was on the train platform overlooking where the kids were dancing. And somehow one of the kids was like, like not getting the number down. And his mom was like, this is too long of a day. I got to take him, go back to school. And so they're like, could somebody, and I was like, hey, I know how to dance. And they showed the move to like 3 or 4 kids and like, you got it. So I went from like the train platform right down in the front. So I didn't start like in the scene. It came in later on the border, and so that got me my SAG card, because I had been like eligible. Chicago had like McDonald's and had Sears. And so you kept doing all these things where you until you got to be a must join. And then when I got Blues Brothers, I was a must join. So I got my SAG card on Blues Brothers. Then I went from Whitney Young High School, I went to Evanston Township, where the Cusacks went and the Pivens went. So Jeremy was my year. John was a year behind me. Joni Cusack was a year ahead of me. Bill was 2 years before that. And so, we were all kind of like performing at that point in time. So I got my first speaking part in the movie Class with Rob Lowe and Andrew McCarthy. And there was a whole bunch of people in there. They had Casey Samatko's another dude. Alan Ruck had a little cameo in there. Because, that was the days of like tons of stuff coming through Chicago. And then later on was like Ferris Bueller and, the Risk and my Bodyguard and Thief and all these kind of like, all of a sudden, like the 80s was like a hot thing. Chicago was a great place to be shooting. And so, and then I went off to college. I went to BU a couple of years, in New York, and then in New York, I just John Cusack and I went to high school together. Cusack and Piven and a whole bunch of other people, Lili Demos, DVD Vincentis, who now writes for People versus O.J. Simpson, Steve Pink. They all kind of went to LA, and me and a couple of people went to New York. So we kind of just split up as a group. And so I just ended up doing theater. I did like 200 plays while I was in New York. I walked in with $200, you know, like I slept in a, you know, like some friend's, you know, bedroom and stuff. It was really the library, which became my bedroom. Allergic to cats, and there was like 3 of them. And but it was like $200 a month that I could live in New York, and that's all I had. So I, you know, worked my way through, and then I just ended up doing like 200 plays while I was there. I did we worked with the original cast of Tony and Tina's Wedding. And then I nailed a nice, I was doing an off-Broadway show. I was doing Waiting for Lefty off-Broadway. A friend of mine was David Eigenberg, who was on, you know, was doing six Degrees of Separation on Broadway or off-Broadway at the time. He was going to go off and do a movie. He said, hey man, they're looking for somebody to sub for me for a couple of weeks off Broadway. You know, you want to do this play? And I was like, sure. And I didn't know much. He goes, oh yeah, you're naked in the thing. And I was like, oh, all right, well, let's see what the deal is. So it was an off-Broadway play, filling in for a couple of weeks. He went off and did the movie. I booked the gig. And then that show ran for like moved upstairs to the Broadway house, and Stockard Channing came back, and Courtney B. Vance was the lead in that. And I ran that show for like a year and a half, and then it closed. And then the national tour took it to Los Angeles. And so then I was in LA for a couple of months to do the show. Then we hit San Francisco and did all major cities. So I was on the road for 9 months, and that got me to LA, you know. So and by the time I left New York, I was like, 65 grand, working 8 shows a week, working 5 minutes a show. I think I was working 40 minutes the entire week. You know, I kind of came on, I did the cameo, ran around naked, had a big laugh, you know, did the curtain call in my robe, and that was it. You know, I'm like, this is the way to do it. So let's get the hell out of New York. So I went to LA. I was there for about 20 years and just kind of grinded it, man. You know, just, you know, my wife and I, my girlfriend became my wife. Had a couple kids, beautiful house. And then it was just the stress of strain. It was like, just LA's it's so expensive. My wife's from Louisiana. And so at a certain point, I just kind of like, I said, you know, the tax credits were really kicking up right after Katrina kind of hit in 05, 06. And so I signed with an agent down here as a means to kind of find work. And because LA was just becoming really, really competitive and expensive. And I was a film actor. You know, I just was not a sitcom sketch kind of guy. As much as I started doing comedies, I was just losing to a lot of stand-ups and sketch guys. And so I kind of went the drama route for a while, but then there was just a lot of people in that. And so at a certain point, I ran into a friend of mine in Louisiana. He said he did like 12 movies. You know, I was like, wait a minute. You know, well, I booked 14 movies, but I can only do 12. And I was like, wait. And I knew SAG and AFTRA were going to do this split and have an infighting. So I was like, you know what? I need SAG work in order to do insurance for my kids. So I literally spent the next, you know, 3 years kind of building a relationship with casting directors in the South. And then I went on a tear. I worked like 18 months straight, knocked out about 50 films and TV shows. And then at a certain point, I just turned to my wife and it's like, look, can I not get on a plane? And then I booked a really large role supporting lead in Deepwater Horizon. It was number 4 on the call sheet of a $150 million movie. And they wanted me for the entire 12 weeks that are there. And they put us up in a house. And I said, okay, let's see if we can live in New Orleans in the summer, you know, and we did. And my daughter got into an amazing school called NOCA, which is where, you know, Wendell Pierce and Anthony Mackie went, all the Marcellus kids, Harry Connick Jr., so she got into NOCA, and now my son goes to NOCA. He's going to graduate this spring. And so I kind of gave you the whole trajectory, but it's like, you know, and now I've been living in New Orleans about 7 years. You know, I've been doing self-tapes for 15 years. So the fact that I don't, you know, I've been doing auditions remotely for the whole last 15 years. So these last 2 years are almost 3 years. You know, this is what I've been doing the whole time. So I just started to teach. I've been doing on-camera workouts where I'm teaching actors how to, you know, learn the frame and figure out how to do self-tapes, because it's, you know, I booked well over $1 million worth of work just from my self-tapes and my reels. So, you know, most of the time I'm meeting people when I get on set. You know, the whole thing of getting notes or building relationships in the room, that, you know, that I haven't done that in many years. So it's interesting kind of how, like, and then I always loved teaching, but I mean, now I'm just super, super passionate about it. And I have about 650 students that kind of came in and out of my workouts in the last, you know, 20 months. I've looked at and coached, I don't know, 3,500, maybe 4,000 self-tapes. Some of my students have done like 300, 500 self-tapes in two years. And then, I have a studio in my home in the back of my home in New Orleans. So I shoot my auditions here. I can teach here. It's like the joke my wife would go is like, I'd get up in the morning, and at some point when my business was really kicking, I'm working 20-hour days because there's no acting work. So I'm just teaching and I'm coaching all over the world. And time to make the donuts, time to go to work. She's like, well, the commute's not so bad. I literally just changed my underwear and my t-shirt, put on my flip-flops and slippers, and just work my way to the back of the house. I was like, the commute's not bad. I'm just going from the front of the house to the back of the house, so I've just kind of found a new life. And then through that, I audition a lot, and the Finn Cannons were casting Gemstones. I originally read for Scotty, and they kept throwing all kinds of stuff at me for the good while. And they just said, go as far as you can go in this thing. And then they came back with this little smaller part. I'm like, oh man, these Scotty sides, like, hey there, party boy, like, right. I was like, hey, you're gonna, yeah, you will get it. And I was like, it's that whole scene of like when he pulls over and he's like, and I was like, and then they sent back the Chad stuff. And I was like, this is not so as interesting, because it was not as big, or so it seemed.
Or so it seemed, yes.
Exactly. So no small parts, folks. There's the lesson there. And then, so I auditioned, and then I got it. And then all of a sudden, my son, Kelton Dumont, there was a role for Pontius Gemstone, Danny's middle son. Mm-hmm. And my son goes to Catholic school here at Jesuit High School. And so he knows his Bible pretty good. And I don't. I'm a Buddhist, so I don't know. And so we laid down an audition, and I said, in the end of the thing, and it's that scene, it's like this scene, I think it's the scene from the pilot where he's like, he goes to kiss him, he's like, faggot, it's like, hey, so my friends are gay. I bet they are. And then he kind of like, then there's another scene where he kind of punishes him. And I said, Kelton, if you could come up with like a Bible quote that's like, he who throws, stones in glass houses, and he had like Leviticus, blah, 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 blah. So Whoa. There's a scene. So the scene that never ended up in the pilot, but it's like his audition had this whole thing of like, it's like, well, you're going to be grounded. Pontius is button. He goes, well, Leviticus. He goes, yeah, he doesn't know his Bible and blah, blah, blah. Leviticus. And he like nailed out this Bible quote. And so then when we get in, so then they liked, I was already cast. And then they wanted to meet Kelton. So they flew us down to Charleston, put us up in a hotel. We went in preliminary, and the Finn Cannons were like, look, we already love you guys. You're already cast, James. It's like, this is just a formality. Danny just wants to see if you guys, if he can improv and he's comfortable.
Oh, wow.
And so we met the other little kid, Gavin, who was going to be his little brother. And we all, and went in there, and he just kind of nailed, Kelton's a good kid, and he just kind of nailed it. And he was really into improv. And they're like, oh, that Bible quote thing, we're keeping that in, man. Like we're stealing that, it was like, oh, it's my dad. He goes, bring your dad in, man. I want to meet your dad. And it's like, so then I walk in the room. I was like, hey, did he mess it up? Did he blow it? Like the kid blow it as we out of here. It's like, is our hotel going to be there when we get back? It's like, nope. And I just kind of killed the room, and he did too. And we've had this incredible relationship with him ever since. Anything that you would hear positive about Danny McBride, it's even better and more than you can imagine. I've been working this business for 40 years, and the crew, it starts at the top, to be quite honest. When you have David Gordon Green and you have Jody and you have Danny at the top, there's just there's no power trips on set. There's none of the animosity. So they set the tone of how it goes, and we worked very, very quickly. I knocked out all my episodes in, I think, 2 weeks. I think I knocked out 5 episodes in 10 days. It was just kind of ridiculous. So, we're just kind of crazy. The fact that the show is really just, I think it's, we're second season. I think we're just catching our legs. I find us being like Schitt's Creek. It's like, people are just starting to figure us out. Absolutely. But by year 3, year 4, now HBO already gave like a season 3, but they also want a season 4 already. They just haven't said it. They said to Danny, we want 4. And Danny's like, well, I'm thinking more like season 8, season 10. Mm-hmm. Danny wants to go like long haul, like go deep, so, we do 1 flashback episode a season. I mean, literally, who's to say we can't go back a couple episodes? And they're peppering around with some flashbacks here and there now that they're bringing people in. So I don't know. I told my son, I said, Kelton, don't be shocked if you're still on this thing and you're done with college. It's like, but I gave you a lot of stuff. What do you guys want to rap about?
Well, first I will say I gotta agree. So me and Noah are actually extras on Righteous Gemstones, and I gotta tell you, it is the greatest. We both talk about this all the time. It's the greatest that either one of us have ever worked on.
By far.
The atmosphere is insane. Every single this is what's crazy. I loved every PA on that set. So we had to shoot.
There's one gal that she gave us. She was a little tough, but they reined her back in for season 2. And I think we know who we're talking about.
Yep. No names, but we know exactly.
No names, but we know exactly what we're talking about. So she was the only one that was kind of throwing like power and shade and talking to the extras a certain way. And I was like, I kind of whispered, and some other people did too. By season 2, it was like, she's really not dealing with a lot of extras right now. It's like, she's not a people person. She's over. She's just sitting at base camp, like, I know the large crowds where she can kind of her ego. But other than that, you're right. Absolutely. Costumers, assistants, cameras, grips, lighting. There's something about, keep in mind, these guys have been working with each other since, UNCSA. They're North Carolina School of the Arts guys. People have been working on it for 20 and almost 30 years. So, that does make it different. But you're right. They do kind of set the tone.
They really do. Actually, our favorite hairstylist in all of Hollywood is Brian.
Oh,
dude,
Brian's amazing, dude.
Brian's on my top 5 over 40 years.
Dude, oh God.
Yeah.
Brian is amazing. I've never had cooler conversations at 7:00 in the morning.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Noah, what do you got for him?
Well, sweet. Yeah, absolutely. And we feel you. Like living in Charleston in the summertime is probably a lot like living in New Orleans. 100% humidity, 100% heat. I was born in Pensacola, Florida, so I kind of know.
Yeah.
Oh man. But
we get like a little Africa hot here, so it's just
real hot.
Yeah. So you do all your activities after the sun, like when the sun's just peaking, that's when you run, that's when you do stuff. It's like, for the most part, either get it early morning, but you're like from midday on, you're indoors, you're not doing, we live in mid city. So I have Bayou St. John here. So just like you had Pensacola, where you just jump in, go to Orange Beach, or just jump in, in the Gulf. It's like, I'm not jumping in that water, but I am, Kelton's got one of those wakeboards and stuff, and we have an inflatable kayak. So, sunsets on the bayou in summertime. Some cold beers, throw my dog in there with a floater. It's like we're good to go.
Did you guys ever?
That's why a lot of people
good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When you guys were in Charleston, did you hit up any of the beaches like Sullivan's or Folly?
I did. Yeah, we hit Sullivan's. We hit James Island. We like Sullivan's because it's kind of like we found a little spot that we can kind of go to where surprisingly no one was kind of bothering us. We just found this like nice little hood where we found a little good parking spot, and you got to do the curbs and your tires a certain way. It's like kind of crazy. Like, okay, too much free time up there. But yeah, we love that. And then Kelton does boxing at Hurricane Boxing there in Island. So we when we're there because he likes to box. So we'll go meet with those guys there. They've been spreading us out like kind of all over because some people were at Sullivan's first season. I don't know, Tony likes to be there. We because Kelton needs to be active and it's hard to have the car and kind of go places. We have them put us up, right there on King Street, so it's like we just live on King Street.
Yeah, so, right in the heart. Yeah,
right in the heart, right in the heart of it, where you can kind of, there's plenty of food to go to. 167 Raw. That's our 167 Raw sushi, by the way. Hello, boys.
Absolutely.
Logan, I was like, we'll be there. Like my son never had sushi in his life before, and he had 167 Raw sushi, and it's like he's been spoiled ever since. So it's like there's that, and then Nobu. Exactly. And then we go to 167 Raw, and like everybody kind of knows, Danny's a big fan of that. Everybody knows us there, so it's kind of nice. So we have our places that we hit. We'll see what happens with this next season because Kelton's going to be starting college, so we'll have to kind of figure all that stuff out. And I'm hoping that the just as you had the God Squad last season, that they'll bump up the Goon Squad. We're called the Goon Squad, by the way.
The Goon Squad, yes.
Yeah, we're known as the Goon Squad, which now we should be known as the Second Chance Men.
Second
I think
chance.
the second chance men is just like second season, second chance men. It's like, it's a great title, but whenever they call us to set, you know, or wherever we call, oh, here's the Goon Squad, here they come, you know. So it's like I got Troy and Jay and me and Jody, and it's like, and we all just like, we get along like we've been brothers from another, you know, lifetime, you know, and we're just all very, very different guys. You know, I'm the gregarious, loud, outgoing one. You know, Jay is super, super quiet and kind of passive. But then when the camera's on, all of a sudden, like, he just finds all kinds of crazy. And Troy is just chill as all get out, always looking for the laugh, always mugging, always going. And then Jody's just as he does, he kind of kicks back and decides to kick in. What he's usually watching sometimes because he's directing the episode. So it's like, you know, it's like Jody will kind of pop in and pop out as needed and as wanted. But yeah, and Danny, you know, sent us a really nice email at the end of the season, just as they submitted everything to HBO. And he's like, look, man, you guys just killed it, man. He's like, yes. We argued and fought over, you guys had so many looks and so many things. It was like, you know, we were arguing with what were the better shots of you guys, and you just brought your A game. And I really appreciate that. And I was like, again, you know, very rarely do I find a showrunner sending out a personal email like that to the people in the cast. I mean, a couple of times here and there that I've had that in 40 years, but like Danny is exceptional. You know what I mean? And I think, and we're excited, you know, we're hoping that they kick us up a little bit more, you know, this next season. I mean, 5 episodes is fine. We're happy. You know, Jay doesn't want to do any other things. He just like, Jay wants to play in his band in Florida and, you know, party and literally just show up to Gemstones as much as you want. And Troy is like, you know, Troy's just chomping at the bit to do more, and I am too. And so it's like, you know, I'm coming up with ideas that, you know, I want to pitch stuff to the guys, but it's like, they're so smart and they're so good. It's like, it seems very, you know, actor wannabe, you know, sure. You know, Chad could lose. I want to lose 30 pounds, you know, Chad could lose weight and, you know, and tats, you know, and yes, you know, he can get implants. Chad can get implants and start doing, you know, pay for play, you know, gay for play porn. Like we could do all, like, I could be born again. Like, you know, like like there's so many things. And also I've done these, you know, I did a pilot where a buddy of mine from college wrote this thing where this guy's a serial killer. And I did this pilot where it's like, this guy is a white supremacist and he like goes into an Indian sect and shoots these people. So I'm like, I did all this gun training and stuff. And I'm like, Danny, it's like, bring, you know, let's be killers for Christ, dude. Bring me in.
God, yeah.
You know what I mean? Forget these, you know, roided out, you know, dudes. I was like, make the mod squad, the guy, you know, the Goon Squad, your season 3, you know, go to. But it looks like we're going to Zion's Landing. So we'll, you know, who knows what's going to happen at Zion's Landing. I'll be I'm hoping there'll be a shot with Chad in his thong at the beach,
God, yeah,
trying to catch some, you know, rays on his ass cheeks, you know, and so that's that. So I have all kinds of ideas, but the point is these guys are brilliant dudes, and I don't want to be insulting and go, you know, what about this? What about that? You know, it's like, you know, we had a huge advantage when the entire season was written, and season 2 was totally written and done. Kelton had flown there. They had bleached his hair blonde, and literally they get in the car to do the first scene. And by the end of the night, that day, we were shut down. So they were, you know, so he had been up there for like, I think 10 days at that point because of COVID stuff, you know, 2 weeks even. And then the first day of shooting happened, and then we scrapped it for an entire year. And HBO was super, super cool to us. They kept in communication about what's going on. And what that did, it really gave Danny a shot to just stop and rewrite the entire season. And, you know, I can't help but think it's like watching the budgets of like Succession. I think Danny was like, I think we need up at a like, I think we need to go to an island, you know, like, and so and HBO just loves them, and they, you know, the shows are successful. So, you know, they've been great to us, you know. So yeah, we're excited about what the season 3 holds, because I think people are starting to just kind of figure us out a bit. Absolutely. And I kind of had a feeling that was the case.
I mean, you mentioned Schitt's Creek is the perfect analogy. I mean, that is
it is because we were like that first season. No one was kind of like, we're right behind Succession, and we're in that sweet little Game of Thrones spot that we've been in. It's a great spot to be in. But then also, right, I think HBO right now has some of the best content. Period.
You follow Euphoria, and Euphoria,
somebody somewhere from the Duplass brothers, who's from here in New Orleans. The Gilded Age. I mean, like, and even what was the other one? Station 11, isn't that HBO?
So good. Yes, it is HBO. Yeah. Raised by Wolves. Ridley Scott. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think HBO realized, Netflix, doesn't necessarily have to have a hold on it. I think with this Warner Brothers partnership is smart, gives a lot of really good content for the people that were HBO Max. You get your money's worth. You get all the Batman stuff.
Oh yeah.
Along with that, all the Warner Brothers TV shows. So, it's like, I feel like, HBO really kind of watched Netflix do their thing and go, wait a minute, we're the original subscription base.
Absolutely.
We're the first, like, we were the pioneers of all this. They were paying. We walked away with Emmys all the time. And I think, I think we're right where we need to be. And I think the Schitt's Creek is the best. I'm an Emmy voter, so I've watched the trajectory of that too, and was kind of glad, Modern Family. I was like, I love my man Eric, as dear friends and people on the road. I was like, this is not that funny to me,
It's not.
I've seen this before, so, but good stuff, and people were voting, and popularity is one thing, and but I feel like we're just kind of getting started, to be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, Danny's been wonderful. I was able to be on set like 10 times in like 5 different episodes. Wow. And everyone from you to Troy, to everyone, to Edie, everyone was so nice. And, it's great for Charles. It's great for us. So as locals, I love it too.
Actors, we love Charleston. It's like, the city's great. The people have been great. Danny and I were making a joke at the last episode of like, I had some nice stuff. I'm excited to see. Hopefully it all stays in my episode 9. I got some really good stuff happening there. It kicks me off for season 3. But we had some downtime to kind of talk. And I was like, yeah, man, I remember when I thought we would get all this pushback from all these religious organizations because everybody was so easily triggered.
Yeah, it's true.
At the end of the day, it was like, no. Danny's like, it's the exact opposite, James. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, no. There's churches that are calling us saying, we're going to give you our church for free location. And we'd love our choir to be. And so he's like, so HBO's like, oh yeah, no, we're good. Sign all these liabilities and we're good. So it's like free church, free choir. They'll come in. They won't, they don't want the day rate, that no one's trying to get their SAG cards. And it's just like, it's like, he's like, yeah, it's, and they go, you're talking about us. You're talking about our story. And they're like, do you not see the hypocrisy of all this? Like, this is, and the whole thing that they're ahead of the curve of reality, because season 1, Edie's hiding millions of dollars in the crawl space in the kindergarten, in the kids area, in the crawl space of the plane. Didn't we just find millions of dollars in the bathroom of Joel's?
In the bathroom.
So I'm like, how the hell? Like, we're ahead of the curve,
You're the new Simpsons. You're predicting everything.
Yeah. So it's like, it's when hypocrisy and reality kind of meet, and you kind of know, and then there you are. You're just the show that's happened to be that show at that time, So, we're excited. I have no idea how it's going to go and how much I want to do more. We're always kind of down for that, but you also have. And that ensemble cast is like, you could do a spin-off of any of the main characters. You could do a whole season of Judy. You can do a whole season of Kelvin, a whole season of Tony, of Keith, John, let alone, Martin. We're just starting to get to understand Martin a little bit more, each person. And then Aunt Tiffany got a nice little bump this year. We're very happy for her.
She's so great.
And she's literally, you can do a Baby Billy, like the whole, we don't get enough of Walter Goggins. You know what I mean? Had he not been working on a film with Sam this summer, we would have seen a little bit more of him, this season. But I talked to Sam, and he was knee deep in working on a movie in Atlanta with an old director friend of mine. So yeah, there's just a lot of gold in the ensemble part of it. friends of mine were voting on the SAG Awards, and they're like, next year, like Gemstones Ensemble Comedy, it's like, y'all tell me, it's like, y'all got this. And I was like,
they do. Yeah. You guys got this in the bag.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So and it's interesting because, there is I was on the Emmy activity committee for many years. And so, there is this kind of thing where you do have to kind of court and kiss the butts of the Emmys folks. Because it's like, so I used to host the events and be like, oh, I like that show. Why don't we do like an evening with them? And I've been emailing all my friends from the activities committee. I was like, do a Sunday service with the Gemstones. I'm like, dude, have John and we'll do a Sunday Bible study. Like, I'm telling you, like the Emmy voters would just go insane for this.
Oh yeah.
And so I emailed it to buddies of mine and Danny. I'm like, dude, because the Emmys, they just like to be courted a little bit,
They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. So my question is Gemstones related. It's a 2-for-1, right? Was this, I guess, the first time you've ever worked with your real son in a show?
No, I got lucky before this, actually. Ooh. I was doing, I'd worked with Steven Soderbergh before on Ocean's 13. And ironically, he went to high school with my sister-in-law. And his brother Charlie went with my wife. They all went to school together in Baton Rouge. And there was a cast director who was casting a project that Soderbergh was doing, was going to be on phones, called Mosaic, where it was all kind of, you can kind of decide which way you were going to go with the storyline. And so myself, my son, and my daughter, all three of us were on a boat, with Soderbergh directing for a thing. So the three of us were in one project together, like I think our first or second year in New Orleans. Wow. And I turned to my wife and I go, this never happened in LA. Just sort of like, no. I'm so glad we moved here. It's the best thing we ever did. Like, and here we are on a boat with an Oscar-winning director, like, at the helm of the camera and giving us direction. And then in the downtime, we just talked about our families because they all know each other. And I was like, that's brilliant. Oh, man, there's like 14 of them. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of kids. I got 48 nieces and nephews. It was like, so it's like, we just basically were getting paid to do a gator tour, with being filmed. It was like ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So yeah, that was the first time where all three of us working together. He'd been working on a show called Astronaut Wives Club here in New Orleans while I was doing Trumbo with opposite Bryan Cranston. So we did have some fun where it was like, somehow they mistaken me for Louis C.K. when I checked in at the hotel. So I got Louis C.K.'s like suite at the Hyatt, which was like wrapped around like half of the floor. And my son and I were sharing this little, like, the two double beds, like, and I said, oh, well, why don't you come up to my suite? I checked in and they're like, oh, he goes, oh, okay. And he walks, he goes, what? You got a whole fridge. There's a separate living room here. I was like, yeah, it's like how to, and they're like, they couldn't like then change it. They had other, so it's like, once I was in there, like, you're in. So my son was like, oh, I want to move my way up to this.
Get used to that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What other questions you guys might have? Lay it on.
So, of course, the Gemstones, even being on set, it's a highly, improvisational set.
Yes.
Do you have a scene that sticks out in mind that was almost impossible not to break? As far as you just need to.
Hold on one second. Get my son to come into the studio for a second.
You're good.
Yeah, almost all of them.
I figured that would be the case.
The thing I tell people about the fun of Gemstones is the master shot is shot as scripted. The master to set up the whole thing scripted. Medium shot, we'll shoot it scripted, and then maybe we'll add a couple little improvs. And then when we get to the close-up shot, that's where it's like David Gordon Green or Jody or like David particularly is like, tell me you want to put peanut butter on your balls. It's like, oh, that. I was like, okay. And I was like, look, I just want to put peanut butter on my balls. It's like, and as I'm saying that, like behind us, there he is.
There he is.
There he is. Come on in.
There he is.
What's up, bud?
What up, y'all? All right, here you go. 2-for-1 here. So
we got the old Dumont 2-for-1. There we go.
Exactly. So, so the deal is,
shirts off.
When we get, yeah, exactly. And he's got the we're rapping, dude. We're rapping.
Dude, rough house, man. Hell yeah.
And so the deal is, I tell people the fun is that when you get to that close-up shot, it's like you're trying to keep a straight face because the camera's on you, but the whole other crew is, they're covering each other's mouth, and then we say cut, and then everybody laughs, and it's like this is like some like fraternity kind of prank thing that goes on. You know, like how many things can I say or do to you to see if you'll stay in and keep a straight face? And you know, like, and then you're keeping a straight face, but there's like, you know, like at a distance, everybody's kind of cracking up, and it's amazing. Kelton, what do you do to keep a straight face for scenes that are happening? Your question was, how do we keep straight faces for all this stuff?
Yeah. It's really hard. I mean, there's been a few times where there's some moments where I couldn't stay in it because it was too much. My thing is like other people laughing makes me laugh is the main thing. It's not usually not what other people do, it's that other people are laughing. And so I just try to be here. Something like that where you're keeping your mouth down so no noise comes out. It's really hard. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. Yeah. Oh man.
Pretty awesome.
The other thing, one of the things that Kelton and I were talking about, you know, as a young actor kind of being on set, you're also working with like a veteran like Goodman. And it's like, I was like, well, what's that like? And he goes, man, take for take, he doesn't do the same thing. Like each take, he'll do something totally different. And they may or may not give him direction. Most of the time they don't. But it's like, he just gives them something different each take. So he leaves it up to the editors to kind of figure out what they want. But I mean, that's a great lesson for an actor, is just like each, you know, like, and then if John's doing that, then maybe I should do something a little bit different, you know?
That's awesome. Yeah. Very good advice, actually. Yeah.
Good deal. All right, bud.
Later, bud. Thanks for stopping in. Oh.
All right. So, yeah, so we, you know, it's amazing for us because it's like, you know, I always say to people, you know, I'm most comfortable and in my skin when I'm at home with my family and when I'm on set. But then when I'm doing Gemstones, I kind of get the best of the both worlds because I'm on set where I feel in my element, but I'm also with my family. So it's like, it's kind of a win-win in that regard. But yeah, man, we're excited to see how things are going to go, you know?
Yeah. I sure as heck, I'm going to try to be in season 3, you know, start background. Who knows, man? That's the thing, you know, if you don't do it, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions you have for me? Like, lay it on me. We extended time a little bit, but
there we go. He's got a Trumbo. This kid loves Trumbo, man.
Okay,
let's talk Trumbo.
That's one of my favorite movies of all time. I do have a question though. So how do you get prepared for a role when you're playing a real person and that real person's not here anymore? Like, did you have to?
Yeah, I get a lot of that because I've done J. Parnell Thomas was not alive. I do research a little bit in the sense of there's stuff. I mean, Wikipedia is not the best source, but at least it'll give me some source material that will lead me to where the real sources are. So, because sometimes there's things that are in there like will kind of prove how you came about that. And the thing that I've been finding, I studied with this amazing teacher named Larry Moss, who coached Hilary Swank for her Oscars, Helen Hunt for her Oscar, the late Michael Clark Duncan for his Oscar nomination for Green Mile. And Larry used to say, you know, look for the character's Achilles heel. What is their fundamental weakness? Think of like Superman's, like kryptonite's the thing that renders him powerless, right? So the deal is that I start to look at what's their weakness, you know, what is their fundamental weakness? And then you'll find most of the things, like we're humans, you know, conditioned in a certain way that, you know, if once you figure out their Achilles heel, most of the things that they say or do in their life are to overcompensate and cover up that very thing. Perfect example would be Donald Trump. If his father just loved him purely and unconditionally, he'd be an entirely different person.
That's right.
But because everything was conditional upon who he was and his name and all these things, he had to overcompensate, over ego, you know what I mean? The overs. And so when I was doing research on J. Parnell Thomas, he was a guy of like staunch, like, you know, conservative and like, you know, now these people, like he was like stickler of the rules. Well, you know what did him in? Tax evasion.
Yep.
He hired his own family and put his own family on the payroll. I'm like, wait a minute. And then it's not true. It's not historically accurate that Trumbo and J. Parnell Thomas were in the same prison together, but they were actually in prison at the same time. So Jay took a little bit of a liberty and said, we got to have that scene. I'm mopping floors. We got to have that scene. Jay Parnell Tom, look at how far this guy has come. You know what I mean? Yeah, here we are. We're both criminals. No. But one of us broke the law. You know what I mean? The difference is you're a criminal and you destroyed my life and the lives of hundreds of lives of kids and families. You know what I mean? You're really a criminal. I'm not. That's the only difference between you and I. And so, that's what did him in. It's same thing with Sherman Adams is a role I played opposite Robin Williams, the late amazing Robin Williams.
Oh,
and it was one of his last films. And there were times where I was just like, I didn't know him enough to know how different he might be, or the end result of things. But same thing, Sherman Adams was like he was a judge, and then all of a sudden, there was some mafia guy that he or racketeer person that he let off, and then all of a sudden his wife's got furs and diamonds, and they tracked it to the mafia, and so then here's a guy that was so sticking by the rules, and then live by the sword, die by the sword. And so for me, I find when I'm preparing for characters, I'm looking for the Achilles heel. I mean, what's the weakness? And usually what they say or do is to kind of cover up and that fundamental, truth or unhappiness. It's if Donald Trump really felt loved, I don't think he would say or do or act anywhere near what he was, So
well said. Yeah.
The most fundamental human truth is people are what they do, so their actions kind of tell you everything about them. They can say they love or care or respect you, but they show up late, they don't return your phone calls. Their actions are basically saying, I don't really care. You're not a priority. So I always usually look at, when I'm preparing auditions or doing research and things, I just look at their actions. What are all the things, even, because film and television is a narrative. So, it's a visual medium. So I look at some of the narrative sometimes too, before I look at lines for auditions, just to kind of create the visual picture of what's being done. I mean, you and we could do hours on this kind of stuff, but
absolutely,
that's kind of what I do. And for auditions, it's as I tell to many actors, it's you're gonna audition 10 times, maybe 30, 50 times more than you're gonna get to act on set or on a screen or in the theater. And so you really have to learn how to be really good. This is a craft, and this is something you need to kind of master. And to master things, it takes 10,000 hours to do it, to really master it. And I've had well over 10,000 hours on sets and well over 10,000 hours on auditions. So, now I've found this thing where I can really kind of help a lot of people. I blew thousands of auditions, so they don't have to. So I can these are some of the things that I did, So, I have a thing called OnCameraWorkouts.com is my website. And I do classes.
Check it out. I follow it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's on camera. And then we have an Instagram thing where there's little videos on there, give you little tips, tools. I call them nuggets of knowledge, just dropping little nuggets of information. And it's a great thing. And I ask people to come observe and check it out to see what works. We do on-camera workouts on Wednesdays and Wednesday day and Thursday nights, just a couple times a week. Cause I have, I do my own self tapes, my own auditions, and I have my classes. So I do my classes Wednesday and Thursday. And then once a month, we do a writing workshop where actors or people creating their own content. Now, a couple of my things have turned into, a couple of our writing assignments have turned into short films out in the festival circuit.
Oh, wow.
Then, on Wednesday nights, I do a kind of like a master class, where it's called core classes, where we're now working on the film Marriage Story, and we're going 3 scenes at a time, and various actors are reading different scenes. Then we kind of go through the crafting of each of those scenes, and then we watch the scene. So then it becomes kind of like a film acting class. It's kind of it's what I've been wanting to do for a long time, is kind of like this, because I've been watching they renewed it for me, my master class. I was like, I didn't watch enough of them. So I went back and watched a lot. I was like, that's kind of what I want to do with what my workouts are. So the on-camera workouts are really for people that want to learn how to perfect their self-tape game. It's much like going to the gym. So, every Sunday, guaranteed, they'll have 3 brand new, currently active casting, audition sides in their inbox. They have to shoot it, execute it, upload it. And, by Wednesday day or Thursday night, we watch playback. You watch from other actors, you learn from other actors watching their work. And then Wednesday nights, we do our lab work and we're focusing on Marriage Story. I think we're somewhere about, we do 3 scenes a week. We've been doing for a while. So we're about it's a 150 page script. We're probably about 100 pages into it. So we go three scenes at a time. And then Friday nights, we do a really cool thing. I do Friday night workshops. They're just 2-hour workshops. And then also Q&A. So this Friday coming up, I got a writer director named David Dubose, who's a really wonderful dude out of New Orleans. And he's currently writing a screenplay from the guy that was the forensic pathologist for New Orleans from Katrina all the way up until like 4 years ago. So the stories that he has had to tell, it's a really amazing book that the guy wrote. And so he's turning that into a series. And so each Friday, every other Friday, I do a Q&A with an actor mostly and talk about their journey and how they came about doing what they're doing. Or I'll do a director or casting director. In this case, it's a writer director. And we do those for charity. So they come in totally for free. It's $25 to do it. And we donate it to a charity. And last year I donated over $15,000 to 40 charities all over the world. And so, we're doing a good thing. Like you give some knowledge and information. I had the late Ed Asner on there. I had Michael Chiklis from The Shield and The Commish, John C. Lynch, John Carroll Lynch. I've had amazing kind of people on there. And then I do sometimes these little 2-hour workshops where if people want to get the 7 steps to self-taping, they want to work on their lights, they want to work on, camera angles, picking takes, teaching people how to edit and stuff. So just, for me, it's, I've been doing it so long and I have so much knowledge, it seems kind of silly to just hoard and hold that information when there's so many people kind of dying to get the information. So
I'm one of those people. So I'm very happy it's on there. And you've been amazing to even be on our show. Seriously, when someone says it's an honor, sometimes people are like, no, take it to heart. It is an honor for you to be here with us.
Thanks,
on the show.
It
really is. Man.
And
we're loving it. We're going to see you on the set of season 3 for sure, man.
Absolutely.
We'll be there. That's all the questions I have. Dustin, you got anything else to wrap up?
Yeah, well, a little side question here.
While I'm here, you got me while I'm here, bro. Lay it on me.
That me and Noah were wondering.
No, not my dick.
Is that why your nickname is Jimmy Dime?
Body double. Yep. Look, I was full frontal on Broadway for 2.5 years. You got to know, I got nothing to worry about. I'm blessed. Thank you. But not putting my wiener on not putting it on like for people to screenshot and go, even though if you Google it, people still think it's mine. It's like, no, it is. Mr. Rivera is an actor out of Atlanta who's my body double. And I love the dude for doing. And here's the thing, I go, he puts himself on IMDb as my body double. I go, you have a pin wiener. Like why would you advertise it? He goes, because it's a recurring role. It's the only recurring role I have. And I go, all right.
And that's how Dr. Ken became famous. Dr. Ken's tiny wiener made him a superstar.
Hilarious. I forgot about that actually, because that was from Hangover, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So no, and the hilarious story about that. Here's the funny story about that, because I've been through this before. There was a movie called American Gods, a TV show called American Gods, where the guy was having sex with this woman and her vagina was like a Venus flytrap and swallowed him whole. And they called me and I was like, oh, dude, I think I'll do this. I think I'll do this. And then it ended up to be like Joel Murray, like Bill Murray's brother ended up getting the thing, right?
Oh,
because I kind of waited too long, you know what I mean? But they came at me first. And then I was really like, do I want to do this? I'm not quite in shape. Because when I was in 6 Degrees, I was just like my son. It was like 7% body fat, like you could bounce a dime off my stomach or my ass. It was like, but now I look like the guy that ate that guy, so so then the thing, so I booked Gemstones, and then they go, well, how do you feel about nudity? I was like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Topless. I did this movie where I'm topless, where this guy gets hypnotized, and the whole movie, I've literally belly out, tits up, no big deal. And so then they're like, well, how do you feel about full frontal? And I go, I'm like, well, Danny's doing it. And I go, wait a minute, wait. Danny McBride is doing full frontal on HBO. Oh, I'm calling BS on this one. Like, I don't think I don't. And then ironically, that pilot I was telling you about, where I'm the serial killer, that was up in Baltimore, and and that got extended. So it was like I couldn't do it. So I kind of got off easy. So then what happens is then they have to do a casting call where they have to take photographs of everyone's penises. And the Finn Cannons are pissed at me. They're like, they can't be pissed because they know they're not supposed to put pressure. If it was the other way around, would you show your vagina? But they know they're supposed to. But the point is, Lisa May was just like, tell James, thanks for making me look at 150 penises today. That's how my day, before I had breakfast, I had 150 penis pictures in my inbox. Like, that's how my day started. How was your day? She says to my agent. This is how I started my day. I haven't even had my coffee yet. And click in my email and it's like, there it is. 150 penises, little micro mushrooms just waiting for me to start my day. So please thank James. You know, like, I mean, she said it in a sarcastic way, but I know she was like, you know, and they're religious too. So they're just like, you know, this was not what they, but I'm like, no. And then I knew they were lying that Danny was going to do. I was like, Danny's got a multi-million-dollar deal. He is not going full frontal on HBO. Sorry. With all the euphoria, Weeders, like I just not happening, you know? So I called it out for what it is. And then I turned to Danny and I was like, Danny, dude, I was like, why did you pick like the smallest? And he goes, because it was funny. Isn't it funny? I was like, yeah, but now people think it's me. And then I'm like, I have to go, it's not my penis. And then the more you say it's not your penis, the more they think it is your penis.
Exactly.
Poor Kelton's losing some action at high school because they think he's the son of the Pin Dick dad, you know, Chad, Pin Dick Chad. And it's like, he's losing play. People think I'm lying because if my penis was that small, that's what I would say. I was like, oh, it's not mine. It's funny, double. You know, so it's like, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And he's like, James, at the end of the day, it's funny. I was like, what's funny is that Chad gets a penile implant and then all of a sudden, you know, all hell breaks loose. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm looking for, is like, you know, second chance men, third season. He's, you know, long dong silver, man. It's like, that's what we're going to do. So that's a story I don't think you were planning on. I don't think I've told that story. So you got.
I do love ending all interviews on talking about people. There's 150 dicks and tiny dicks, man. That's epic.
I've been easing off the F-bombs and the swearing because I wasn't sure how far the reach is, but oh yeah, I cuss like a sailor. So this was wild for me.
Well, my question had nothing to do with penis. I just want to know if you get free Wahlburgers because you always work with the Wahlburgers.
Oh yeah. You know, I don't, and they're good, but they're not great. I mean, like, they're not in and out like great, you know.
Nothing.
But they're good, but they're good. And look, I got, you know, Mark has fucking been so good to me, man. It's kind of ridiculous, you know. And I know James's brother, he and I have become close. Yeah. God, Mark and I have like a weird kind of brother relationship in a way. Because it's like between Deepwater Horizon and Patriots Day, like when I got on set on Patriots Day, like Mark would just kind of mess with me a little bit, like as if he's going to kind of smack me kind of thing. And then he's like, come here, I want to talk to you. I was like, no, I'm not getting close enough. And he's like, no, I'm not going to slap you. He's like, come on. And then just as I get close enough, he almost does. He's like, look, man, I want to tell you, you're here on Patriots Day because Pete and we did a screening of Deepwater in Chicago before we got here. And we just kept saying, man, you were so good in that movie. Your whole trajectory, like from the guy, from the arrogant dude with the tie to crying like a little bitch and watching the thing blow up, you know, burning up. He's like, you just got the whole mileage out of that, you know? And he goes, and that's why you're here, man, you know? And then he says that nice thing, and then he smacks me in the back of the head. It's like it's a total, like, do you know what I mean? It's like that, like, you know, like you think it's gonna happen, it's not gonna happen. Then he totally catches you off guard, and then he like neck respect, and he's, you know, I was like, all right, this is good. Right. And so then when we were doing Spencer Confidential, you know, he goes, and we kept doing the take over and over again, like just hauling me into the thing. And then finally it had to be me because it was like the face, you know, the face bowl shot. It had to be my face. And he's like, blow it. And I mean, my whole body, I'm totally 100% vertical, man. I'm like, my legs are up in the air, you know, and I'm trying not to be, you know, like I'm trying not to be a puss about it. Cause it's like, you know, Pete's a boxer and he boxes, and it's got Mark, you know, and then, but Mark, after a couple, he goes, man, he goes, James, we're going to turn you into a fucking action star. It starts with your face in the toilet. It's just like, you know, he's like, I'm going to make you an action star yet, fat A, you know, Tubby, you know, it was like, and we just, so we have a good thing going. And then just towards the end, Mark's extremely intense. Like his focus on concentration on set is stingingly intense. He does not expiate any energy whatsoever with extraneous stuff on set. He has his entourage. They have their own little corner. You can't kind of go over there and hang and bullshit. He doesn't like any of that because he saves all of his energy for when working on camera. And I really kind of dig that, but I didn't kind of get it. So so we get on set and it's like, and I'm in the, like, you know, like I got the tracksuit on. I'm like, hey ladies, you know, and then Mark comes in and I'm like, it's just a good vibration, sweet. You just walk right in, you know, and I'm like, I'm back, motherfucker, I'm back. And it was just, I came so wild and bold at that thing. Mark just kind of recluse. So like for like a full week, he was just kind of keeping me at a distance because he's like, yeah, dude, you're an energy sucker. You know what I mean? I'm like, and I'm, you know, so it was like, so, and then finally it was fine, but it was like that first kind of like that first day at school kind of thing. And I was like, oh. And I was like, maybe he doesn't like that I'm doing one of his songs. You know what I mean? He used to DJ and play that song forever, but maybe he doesn't like to be reminded of Mark. You know what I mean? Like maybe I really, and I turned to Cowboy, who's just like his stand-in, and I was like, Cowboy, did I fuck up with Mark? Because Mark's just like kind of not kind of dealing with it. No. That's Mark and the thing. He loves you, man. Everything's good. But I mean, literally for like an entire week, I just thought like I blew my relationship with Mark, you know. And then, you know, 2 weeks later into the thing, I was in Boston for like 3 months, you know, and then we're having dinner with him and Pete and, you know, it's, and Rasta Phil and, you know, his whole little entourage of dudes. And it was like, it's great. You know, like I would love, you know, just as another movie, they called me about a movie with him recently, just depends on kind of schedule and money and time. It's not for a little while, but it's like, you know, we have a good thing, but it's mostly through Pete. Like Pete's pretty much like Peter Berg and I have shorthand. He barely finishes a sentence when he gives me direction. It's kind of like, you know, we'll do a shot and he'll kind of walk over. And I was just about to say what I was thinking. And he was like, you know, I'm thinking in the second part, I was like, yeah, slow it down. Right. That's like that, just that one little beat before I hit the door. And he goes, yeah. And then that's it. He doesn't even finish the sentence, and I like kind of read his mind. And then there's times where he just goes, he just dial it down. He just goes like this. It's like, okay, I got that. And then we're good. He goes, we're good. You know, so it's like we don't even kind of like it's so symbiotic in a way. And I also think like I was at the premiere of Mile 22, where he just kept staring at me for the longest time, and I was like, why are you staring at me, man? You know, and he's like. He goes, I got something for you. I got something for you in the next one. And I was like, what is it? He goes, I'm doing this thing up in Boston. It's like, it's a bad guy. I think you're going to like this, you know? And I did such a really small role in Patriots Day that he was like, I owe you. He turned to my manager. He goes, you tell, you know, like you have a marker with me. You know, he came from like doing, you know, 13 weeks to doing, you know, 2 weeks here, barely speaking in this thing, you know, so I owe you, man. I was like, you know, my manager's like, shut up, man.
Don't say that.
But he was just staring at me hard, and he was looking, he was going, yeah, he's Tracksuit Charlie. Like he knew. And so for me, the two of us really work well in the sense that I got an everyman kind of face, and I can fit in and be believable in various different situations. And that really served realistically, because he's really like docudrama kind of. So that really we serve each other in that way.
That's awesome.
Our collaboration. And that's it, man.
Dude, I could pick your brain for days, man.
Dude, when I do these things, they're always like, we're going to have to do a part 2 with you. We're going to talk about acting and craft. I was like, all right, let me know. I'll come on back. But yeah.
Well, we'd love to have you back.
Absolutely.
All right, y'all.
We appreciate you.
We're going to wrap it up here. That's James Dumont. Thank you for coming on, and we'll see y'all next week.